we are using Beauty and the Beast to talk about geography. And one of the first questions you have to ask is, what happens in the story? Well, we know. We have Bella, who is basically forced, because her father gets captured by a beast, to go to the beast, or go to her father to rescue him. She finds him. He's in jail. She gives herself in place of her father, and is therefore captured in this horrible castle in the middle of nowhere with this huge, awful beast. Belle takes one look at him, step into the light, he looks in, she's like, oh, this is terrible, and he gets upset and sends her, and then it's just this whole thing. And slowly over the course of time, they actually end up becoming close friends, and then through the stepping in of Gaston and trying to kill the beast, she realizes that she loves him, and therefore everything ends happily. But what is, and we'll kind of skip this, we talked about that one together. What is the geography? Okay, so, and what I think is cool about this one is just the way that they set the story up, which is basically, use black here, you have a village, and it's basically, you have it in the valley, and then from there you have woods, and we're just going to do trees like this because I'm a terrible drawer, and there's a mountain, and the woods do this, and then you're going to go up the mountain to right here, where you have the castle. This is the castle. I know it's terrible. Get over it. Okay. The drawbridge and the castle. So here's the castle. Okay. And then my next question is, how does geography affect the story? Well, that one's actually pretty simple. How does geography affect the story? I mean, it makes the story. First of all, is that we talked about before, we said that, and I'm going to flip over here, we said that up can be isolation. You can also go up to be a place to be tested. Okay? We also said that a forest is the unknown. It's alien. It's usually scary. It's also the place, the home of evil. During medieval times and like ancient and old times, we know in British lit, and in most, if you look at most literature, no matter what country you look at, people were afraid of the woods. It was unknown. Think about it. If you live in a society, most of the time animals like tigers and bears and anything else will not come out of the woods because they're afraid of people. But if you go into the woods, bad things can happen. A lot of times, robbers and thieves in the older times would hide in the woods. Think about Sherwood Forest and Robin Hood and his merry men. Where do they live? In the woods. And for that reason, if you went into the woods, you had to worry about getting lost. You had to worry about falling down. You had to worry about snakes and large animals that could eat you. And then adding to that, people that are there that are bad. In the story of the Crucible, the girls go and dance in the woods. If you think about the story of the village, they basically teach people if you go into the woods, there's these weird monsters and they will kill you. Stay out of the woods. In Harry Potter, there's the Forbidden Forest. In Lord of the Rings, people are afraid of the forest. Think about all the old fairy tales, Hansel and Gretel. Where was the witch? She was in the forest. So the forest is a place that we are afraid of. So go back and look. You have up is isolation, and it also can be a hard place to live, a place to be tested. And then you have the forest, which is unknown, scary, home of evil. So people don't go into the woods on purpose. They don't want to go there. So let's go back and look at this. So you have the beast. He is up a mountain. So that's one piece of isolation. And then he's surrounded by woods with mean carnivorous animals that I was going to draw you a little picture of a face, but I guess I can do it. Yeah. Burp, burp. That is flat out freaky. You would not want to fight that either. So anyway, mean wolves. So back to this, we're going to go over a little more. You have up, isolated, plus, mean wolves in the woods equals extremely alone. Now that works in two parts. That has two parts to it. Part one is that the beast is utterly alone or isolated. Think about this. He's a beast. Okay, losing humanity. Completely alone. His only window to the outside world is this one little mirror thing that he's got, which later is going to be used against him by Gaston. So he's already isolated because of who he is. Then you've also got this. So, I don't know if I've ever told you this, but I learned in college that when someone tells you something more than once, it's probably going to be on the test. When an author, by the same token, when the author chooses to take two different ways to show you. See, geography can be used in two ways. It can be used to pass the plot, but it can also be used to reinforce an idea by a specific character as part of characterization. And this is where you have it, okay? The beast is completely and utterly isolated and alone. He has no one. He doesn't fit in. He's not accepted. And to further that idea of just how away from society he has been pushed, he is in a castle on top of a mountain surrounded by carnivorous wolves and scary woods. So he is totally alone. So that's part one. Beast, sad and alone. Part two is that Belle is also now totally alone. Okay, she's totally alone. She's in this castle being held captive by a mean, scary beast. But she's also so far away from humanity also that, in a way, she is able to... She's unable to get help. She's stuck. But also, maybe when she does that, she kind of is able to see things from her own perspective. Because think about it, Bella kind of didn't really fit in either. When you look at her, she wasn't exactly accepted. She was beautiful, they all liked her for that reason, but they all kind of thought she was weird. And so she goes up this mountain through these woods where she gets chased by wolves, and she finds a beast, and at first she hates him, but she's kind of stuck with him. So over the course of being stuck together in this house, they kind of are this huge castle, and she gets almost killed by the woods again, and so he has to go save her, and then she's kind of forced by their isolation to see him for what he is, which is actually kind of, in the end, a nice guy, and she falls in love, and he is saved. So the author uses the isolation to bring the story on. But we are not going to stop there, because that wouldn't be nearly as much fun. Because I have kind of already, without really meaning to, picked up on the allegory that is Beauty and the Beast. You see, Beast, well, he ain't pretty, right? He's not attractive. He looks ferocious. I don't know if I spelt that right, but yeah, okay. Well, you know what I mean. Ferocious. He looks mean. We'll say that. How about that? He's a monster. So he is completely isolated Well, as we said that 100,000 times, the geography is used to show that he is isolated. Okay. Then you've got Belle, who is beautiful. Okay. And you have Gaston. We'll say weird, too, because they say she's a beautiful but funny girl. Who is very superficial. And falls in love with Belle just because, well, she's pretty, and so he wants her. And the Beast, the fact that he's put away shows that he is completely shunned by society. And even when Belle first meets him, what is her first reaction? She takes one look at him and it's like, this is terrible. Oh, this is awful. I'm so sad. And the Beast, because of that hatefulness, and he kind of becomes, he is a monster. He's perceived that way, and so therefore he kind of allows himself to be so. It is only when Belle is released from all that, and she leaves humanity kind of behind, and she goes up on this mountain where it's just her and the Beast and these other things that aren't quite human, that are able to soften how he feels. And so that when I see all these things together, the way that they use geography, the way that they use her quest, the way that they do that, you kind of are forced to see that all these things work together to make you see that this dude, even you do it as a reader or the watcher, you judge him from what he looks like. And humanity will not accept him for what he is. And so in the end, what everything together goes into the story, what the geography and what the lessons, the themes that we have in place and all that. The narrative kind of shows that what he is on the outside is not who he is on the inside. Even when he's still in flat-out beast mode, in times when he's not being pressured, there's no stress, when he's talking to his little fellow people, he's telling them, she won't see him as anything but a monster. So on the inside, he is human, but he's not being seen as that way. So really, what this allegory of the story is that you shouldn't judge people for their outward appearances. And there's there's several themes in this story. I mean, like, several. But when you put them all together, they all come into this one idea. If you look through things with the guise of love, you'll understand that everyone, in a nutshell, is still human. We're all the same on the inside. And so it all points back to the fact that you should not judge people from their outward appearances. And that is your allegory. So now it's your turn. You're going to go back and look at the Scarlet Letter. You're going to do this for geography. Look for your allegory see if you can find an allegory. And here's your big hint, okay? I did a whole slide on the forest. So see if you can figure out the forest. Also, you've already read the chapter about where she lived. Do you see any kind of geography correlation in that? Is the author using her abode or the place of where she lives to do anything? So take that and go.